Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Rohner, statewide news service, jbiztechvalley.com. As you can see right here, columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, Rabbi, and I'm having a lot of fun with all three assignments, and my column in the Jewish Press is called Albany Beat, and we talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. And we're with us today.
All right.
You know, fire, we have a lot of issues with fire and flames and candles in the Jewish religion, so I invited Sam Fresina, the president of the New York State Professional Firefighters Association, to be our guest. So welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure.
Excellent.
So what do you advocate for? I mean, you're so essentially a lobbying group, an advocacy group to some extent.
Yeah, we represent the entire state. We have 18,000 men and women that are professional firefighters across New York State, from New York City to Buffalo, and we advocate for them. We help them with contractual issues. We run a very well-oiled machine here in Albany with our legislation to help preserve their rights, preserve health and safety issues, and most things that pretend.
Are you looking for maybe for like smoke alarms? I'm just thinking one thing. It's not just safety for the firemen, but maybe if you make the houses safer, then the firemen will be safe also. Like a smoke alarm, I'm just thinking one thing. I don't know, you could tell me others.
Yeah, safety is our biggest issue. Safety not only of firefighters, but safety of the people that we are taking care of, that we represent. The winter time is a big issue for us, not only with the holidays, but with the weather. A lot of people don't think to check their furnaces, and we have issues with furnaces. You should have your furnace checked every year. Just
From
to
dirt,
make sure
for dirt,
for dirt, for clogged lines,
Creosote.
for creosote. Make sure that you change your filter.
Yeah, because the dust builds up. I mean, I got to tell you, when I first got my house, I was a neophyte with knowing what to do. So my furnace wasn't working, and I called up, and the guy charged me $85 to come to the door to replace an 85-cent filter.
Yeah.
That he said that's all it was the filter. And I felt so bad, and I shouldn't even be confessing this on the air.
It's a tough lesson to learn.
It's a tough lesson to learn. Never again.
But when you say the winter, immediately I thought of, I'm from Chicago, which the winters are worse than Albany. But I'm sure, like you say, all around the state and upstate, there always was a picture every winter, like some place or factory was on fire, and these firemen were like dripping with icicles because they were, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, if you're in the winter, who wants to fight a fire, and the icicles are flowing all over the place. It's too terrible.
But you're not trained for that, and they are, and they know how to best handle all of that. It's like when you're a ball player and you're a football player, you're playing in the snow, you're like, I would never do that, let alone sit in the stands and watch it, but you're like, look at this, it's snowing on them, you got 6 inches of snow on the field and they're still playing. I mean, you just have to you just train for it.
Yeah, we are trained for it, but there are certain things that you can't train for. Living in the Northeast, living in upstate New York, a lot of times when we get snow, and we have problems when the streets are being plowed. A lot of the fire hydrants are covered with snow.
Right.
So we try to encourage people, if you have a fire hydrant outside your house, take the time to make sure it's shoveled out. Make the time to make sure that if God forbid a disaster happens, if there is a fire in your house, we're able to find the hydrant, hook up to it, and get water on that fire as soon as
Albany,
possible.
the Albany Water Department puts flags on
Yes, they
their
do.
hydrants.
And that's what those flags are for.
Right, and
so
that's
we
important.
can find the hydrants.
I was just thinking, because again, back to smoke alarms, houses probably are a little bit safer now. I mean, we'd say with smoke alarms. I say per house, maybe is there less fires nowadays? I don't know if they, let's say in 1900 there was 1,000 houses, and you'd figure, I don't know, 5 fires, and now there may be 2 per 1,000. Things are safer today.
They are safer today. We have, partially because we have stricter fire codes, because of disasters that have happened in the past. However, the building materials that are being used are not nearly as good as they were years ago. Now, and that's another fight that we have with truss construction, balloon construction. You have where historically the wood was fastened together with screws or nails. Now they have these plates that act as joists and connect, one piece of wood to another, and they're thin plates, and it doesn't take a lot of heat to melt those plates, and then you have ceilings, roofs collapsing. So now more than ever, it's response time is one of the most important things for the men and women that respond, because if you don't get there before that fire really gets going, then
the whole thing's going to collapse.
The whole thing's going to collapse.
Right, and the other part is that all the chemicals that we have in our homes that are built into the products that we own.
Yes.
That you don't even know that all of a sudden you have an explosion. I remember growing up, my mother had this thing where she wanted to cover the couches in plastic and the chairs in plastic so that you wouldn't.
My grandmother did the same thing.
But you got to understand, if there's ever a fire, that plastic's going to be more intense in a fire than if you don't have that. And
it's going to offload dangerous gases. And we're seeing
absolutely.
Not only that, but you look at today's home as compared to a home 20, 30 years ago. Now there's how many computers, laptops, everybody has a cell phone. I think when you're 10 years old, you get a cell phone now.
It's true.
Cell phones, phones, all this equipment, even Scotch guarding on your couches, and there's so many more carpets. There's so many more chemicals built into, and even toys. Another fight that we're waging now against some of these. They call them, the chemicals that are fire retardants. Well, they don't really do a great job as a fire retardant, and what they are doing is
false
releasing gases that are killing people.
Giving
they're
you false
causing
hope.
a number of different cancers. They are giving you false hope because people see it as they mistake fire retardant for it's fireproof, and it's not fireproop.
Fire resistant.
Interesting, I never thought of it that way.
But you talk about the cell phones. You don't even need a fire; they're exploding in your hands.
Depending on which one you buy.
That's right.
I had to fly out to Montana recently, and the announcement came over the plane. If you have the Galaxy, whatever it was,
Samsung.
leave it off. Don't even turn it on, because they didn't want to.
They were so scared
Get
of it.
Samsung Galaxy.
I never thought of it. Again, you'd think that people would be more fire conscious nowadays. But then there's the other side of the coin, like you're saying, with all the chemicals and maybe the construction also doesn't. That's what I thought you were going to say. I know my parents moved to Florida from Chicago. They couldn't stand the snow and the ice. But the house was built, but there were houses in their condos that were not built. He said, "Look at that," he showed me. They're making like these thin plywood. And this is Florida, all right. They have the hurricanes, which thank God we don't have that here. But still, it's like made out of, he says, junk. They put a piece of plywood up, put some siding on, and that's your house.
You can literally break into some of these houses with a utility knife.
That's right.
You go right through a wall. It's the construction is just so. It's all about making money. The building material isn't. It's cheaper. Like, again, we need to reinforce and strengthen these codes, but it's all about how much money you can make off of building these houses.
So let me ask you something. When you go to lobby for a bill, and I use the term lobby in a general, broad way, not as specific as a definition, okay? For a bill, do you have pushback from George Amador, who's a home builder?
Surprisingly, we don't. Okay. We have a good relationship with George Amador. He has shown himself to be very safety conscious. So we've had a good relationship with him.
Okay, I see. There are probably a dozen bills every year that you take on.
Yeah, close to a dozen. We try to limit them, and out of those 10 or 12 bills, we really have 3 to 4 that are our main, the bills that we most like to see passed.
Okay, so I see in the Senate a pattern where Senator Marty Golden is one of your favorites to carry a bill. Why is that?
He is, well, he's a retired police officer out of
Right.
New York, as you know. He can relate to us. He's, you know,
But he's
we
not
work
a firefighter, he's a police
No,
officer.
but the police, he has family members that were in the fire department.
Okay.
So he has quite a bit of knowledge
Yeah.
about what we do and the dangers that we really face that a lot of people don't understand.
Are there any former firefighters who are elected officials? I mean, aside from volunteer firefighters, I mean, just professional.
There are none
No.
really that
There you go.
we would like to see that change.
You can-
New York is one state where we don't really have a lot of our own people
Right. Running for office.
running for office or holding office. However, we do have plenty of states around the country that do have those.
Well, there's something to work
And,
on for you internally.
Right now, I mean, we have a county executive who's a former firefighter.
Who's that?
In Albany, Dan McCoy.
Oh, damn, that's true. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And he was
And
over
we
at
have
the airport. Yeah.
a mayor in Cohoes who's a former firefighter.
Oh, Sean
Sean
Morris.
Morris.
That's right. That's right.
So
You
we
know,
do
I
have
was
some
going to
local-
ask about, once you talk about volunteers, really, I know we're broadcasting from Albany, but I'm a resident of Bethlehem, which has a volunteer fire department. They say they're rated AA plus, so they're very good, and I know they are. I know a few guys on there. But I mean, does it make a difference to you, volunteer or paid? I mean, a firefighter's a firefighter, or?
I mean,
training?
volunteers certainly they have their use. They are very civic minded people. They go in, they do a great job. They volunteer their time. I don't think it's the same as far as level of training. For instance, we have to go through, just to get on a truck, we have to go through a minimum of 229 hours of training. We go through 100 hours of annual annual continuing training.
No, sure.
We have to score, especially these days, very high on a civil service exam to get on the list because there's a lot of competition. We have to go through a physical ability test,
what it
which
seems
is quite
like.
strenuous. We have annual physicals for our guys. We have to go through a psychological exam, which is
Really?
very in-depth.
Interesting.
There is a lot more that our guys have to go through to be certified and keep the certification. There's no, on a professional level, there is no exterior or interior firefighters. You're either a firefighter or you're not a firefighter. Again, that's not to take anything away from the people who volunteer.
Yeah.
There are several communities across our state that really need volunteer firefighters. You know, if you can't afford to have a professional fire department, then you know, people really rely on the volunteers. So,
Now,
but it's just tough with the demand. Each year, the demands become more and more time consuming. To you know, there's more newer technology. There are
Well,
more
that's
things that you have to
demands,
learn,
right.
and it's not. Years ago, you could stay
up
up
a hose,
on what, you know, it was much more basic job.
Pick up
But
a hose and
you
shoot
pick up
it,
a
yeah.
hose and you go in, you throw your pack on, and you go in and you fight a fire. Now we have hazardous materials, we have weapons of mass destruction, we have all of these different high and low angle rescue. Our guys are paramedics, which alone is a long, time consuming, in-depth course, and you have to have continuing education to keep your certification. So it's just with the way the economy is going, and there's only 24 hours in a day, to be able to keep up that level of certification and do it as a part-time job,
yeah.
it's very difficult. I mean, it's tough to
You
do.
say that people there is a lot of people who want to be firefighters. You'd think it's, number one, strenuous. Number two, it's dangerous. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, it's not just being a tough job, but it's, you know, there's danger involved.
Of course, there's danger, and even if you make it out of the job after 25, 30 years in one piece, there is a danger in everything that you were exposed to while you were on that job, getting you after you retire. We get calls, emails almost every week with another member who was diagnosed with certain kinds of cancers that are attributed to the job.
Asbestos, like asbestos?
Like asbestos, like we were talking earlier, but the gases that are released every time you go into.
But just look at 9/11 with the World Trade Center collapse. I mean, there's the Zadroga bill,
Yes.
And I wanted to, you have a bill in the Senate that passed both houses waiting, maybe the governor signed it since now, but extension of time to file accidental disability retirement.
Yes.
And then there's cancer in the parenthesis. I
Yes.
wasn't sure if you can explain that or.
We have a presumptive cancer bill, and basically what it means is you came on the job and you were cancer-free, you passed a physical and you got signed off by your physician, and if you get cancer while you're on your job, it's attributed to the job.
So did the governor sign this yet or no?
We have a presumptive cancer bill, but what we're trying to do is and that particular bill hasn't been sent to the governor yet. It will be sent between now and the end of next month because he has to. A lot of bills, they go up in bunches, and
So it passed both houses?
it passed both houses.
Unanimously or with some?
Near unanimous.
Near unanimous.
They passed easily in both houses.
Yeah, but
And,
who could vote against this?
You got me.
And I can only imagine the wrath if the governor vetoes this.
Well, people aren't going to be happy, and the rumor out there was it's a costly pension bill, but it really isn't because these people are already retired. They're already collecting a pension. It would mean slightly more in their pension, but it's not a huge cost. We get calls from a lot of people who are diagnosed with cancer, and they've been retired for literally 2 years and a month, and
Too late.
it's too late. And a lot of different states have a 10-year. They go out 10 years or more from retirement because it takes that long for a lot of these cancers to metastasize.
Now, you have a bill here, I don't understand it, but it's state aid to towns based on tax-exempt properties. That's something that's on your website that went, the Ritchie Gunther bill, Patty Ritchie, and I just didn't know how that pertained to
the 2%.
firefighters. It says state aid to towns based on tax-exempt properties.
That bill is to try to give some relief to municipalities such as Albany, where there is so much tax-exempt, so many tax-exempt properties, it's having a negative impact on their budget, which has a negative impact on their ability to retain firefighters and police officers.
So you're supporting this bill with a lot of other associations and a lot of other groups.
I believe this is one of the groups or one of the bills where actually our association and the Conference of Mayors see eye to eye. We're on the same side on this one.
Politics makes strange bedfellows. So you just so it's caught up in committee, is what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
And so you're going to reintroduce this next year?
We're going to reintroduce it. We're going to try to, when a bill doesn't go through, we take a step back and we take a look we talk to the people in the committees. We try to get a feel from them as to why it hasn't gone through, if there are any tweaks or any changes that we can make to the bill. Obviously, we didn't want to go after all tax-exempt properties. We don't want to go after churches. We don't want to go after VFWs. We don't want to go after, people who we shouldn't be
messing with.
We know better.
It is a technical
we
term.
know better not to mess with. There's certain people you really you don't mess with.
You don't mess with God, no.
You do not. I'm not going to be anywhere in that group.
Okay.
So, colleges, another plan that we put forth years ago was to have legislation to assess a public safety fee for a college student. You know, if you're coming up to whether it's University of Albany or St. Rose or one of the colleges here, even if it's $50 a semester or $100 a semester, which is really, in the grand scheme of things, nothing.
Right. It would bring a lot of money in.
And it would bring a lot of, you're talking roughly, what, 30,000 college students in the city of Albany.
Right.
You multiply that by $100 a student, now you're talking significant money to help protect them.
Right.
Because throughout the school year, our men and women respond to thousands of calls.
And a lot of
and
them
medical,
are false. A lot of them are false alarms.
false
too.
alarms, medical calls.
You know,
It's all part of college life.
I lived on the U-Albany Uptown campus, and
Yeah.
I remember back then it was, some people felt, not me, I won't take credit for it or blame for it, but, you know, felt there was just a big joke to pull a fire alarm.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the time all the, you
Supposed
know,
to be mature if you're in college. Right?
yeah,
That's right, yeah.
but it's supposed to be, you know. It's only the freshman dorms did a lot of this. So
Yeah.
I just, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, you should be paying for what you're receiving, you know.
And you're a young girl or boy, and you're away at college and you're having fun, and you know it's a Friday night and you're having a few beers or whatever you're having. And you know, people think it's fun to pull an alarm, but what they don't realize is the ladder truck and the engine company and the other apparatus that are responding to that incident are now have taken themselves out of service to respond to what could be a fire or a heart attack or something.
Now you spent your career in the Albany Fire Department.
Yes.
So you were born in Albany? You were.
Yes.
Okay. So you brought up in public schools? You went to the public schools?
Yes.
Here? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder,
what was that experience like when you were going through the schools here and stuff? Was that something that you thought was safe? Was it a safe environment, or is this what brought you into firefighting? I mean, what was that?
Well, I didn't really think a lot of the fire service. Really, I didn't think about the fire service when I was growing up. I did. You know, I went to public schools, and high school I went to Christian Brothers Academy when it was over on De La Salle Road. And we actually lived down the road from Engine 11. So, yeah, I saw the truck go by and respond to different calls, but I still didn't, I thought that was great, but it wasn't until my involvement with the fire service started in the military.
In the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force, and I ended up serving as a crash rescue firefighter in the Air Force. Okay. So that was my first,
so that's
and
what
I just loved it.
Ignited you to.
Yes.
Okay.
Just going back a minute, because that's, I thought, an important point, I always thought of it. You say you have to send a fire truck, someone broke their leg. I mean, I just get a little scared sometimes. I go to the old age homes, like the Old Shum Apartments in Albany. Well, there's a fire truck in front of that's terrible. Old people, and it's a whole big complex, and I get a little scared, and, I go in there, well, what's happening? Oh, some, old person is feeling sick or whatever. I says, well, you got a whole fire truck because someone broke their leg. I mean, is it worth it?
You don't know what you're getting into.
And the reason why, well, first of all, in the city of Albany, everyone is a minimum of an EMT, and probably half of the men and women on the job are paramedics. So you get for a basic life support call, something that's not going to require IVs and an advanced level, they get a basic life support response, which is either a ladder or an engine company, and then they assess the patient, they call for the ambulance, and they take care of them that way. The reason why they bring an engine or a ladder is because they bring the closest unit that's available to that call. And again, just like in a fire emergency, EMS, time is a huge factor. If someone's having a heart attack, I mean, time.
Seconds matter. That's right.
Seconds save lives. I mean, there are plenty of papers written on how your chance of surviving a heart attack goes down with each minute you go without CPR being performed and effective resuscitation. So we send the closest unit.
I also notice, and out of respect, I mean, I know the explanation for this, but you'll see a fire truck at Price Chopper, and you'll say, well, why do they have to have a fire truck? The whole department, the whole engine company goes to shopping with a fire truck, and it's because if you get a call, you don't want to have to go back to the firehouse and then have to get the truck, and then if you get a call while you're shopping because you have a refrigerator, it's sort of a living quarters, a firehouse.
You live there for 24 hours at a time.
Right, so you have to be ready to bolt from Price Chopper, get in that truck and get to that emergency, whether it's, that's why they call you first responders.
Yeah, and the members are told, you have to be aware that, you're not there to inconvenience the public. You're there to serve the public. So if you do have to go shopping and you're in the truck, park it in the back.
Yeah.
Park it out of the way.
Right.
Stay out of the way. Get what you have to get, and then get out of there. And I've myself been at the store before, and calls come in, and you leave without. Usually, the person at the store is good enough to put your basket aside, and you run out of the store. You're on the truck, and you're answering that call.
I actually had a story with, again, in Bethlehem, so the Memorial Day parade, and of course they have the fire trucks.
Yeah.
And I always thought of it, and what would happen? Everybody's here and they have their kids on the truck because it's very cute. And what if there'd be a fire? I always thought of it, and then there was a call, and I remember one firefighter literally took, I don't know if it's his son or if he was a kid, picked him up and put him not like, please, could you leave now? I gotta go. I'm just saying he picked him up and put him. I didn't, harm him, nothing like that. But I'm just saying, and they pulled out. I always thought of it. And I said, well, there's your thought. If you're in a parade, you gotta go. You gotta go.
They're wherever they're at.
That's right.
The call comes in, you have to go.
That's right. So. Is there any, so I wanted to bring up also the fact that in the Jewish religion we have Hanukkah candles, Sabbath candles, we have a lot of fire that surrounds, when do we do the bonfire? On
Lag BaOmer.
Lag BaOmer, we have
a lot of fires going on with people.
Fire is a big part of the Jewish religion for some reason.
Yes.
And we all want to be safe, but you certainly hear about how you have to, when you leave a stove on over Shabbos, over the Sabbath, because you can't turn it on or off, and you leave it on all the time, all of a sudden something catches fire and a house might burn down. Yeah. I mean, you have to be extra safe, with all of this stuff.
You have to be safe.
Hanukkah candles catch fire because you put it with drapes, because you put it in the front window.
Yes.
So can you talk about that a little bit, the safety factor?
Anytime you have a naked fire, anytime you have a candle burning, fire burning, fireplace, you just have to be very cautious. We don't recommend candles burning unattended. It's just anything can happen. If you have a cat that knocks into it, could knock it over, something could knock it over. If there's and no combustibles should be anywhere near an open fire, obviously, but a lot of things that people don't think of. But unattended fires are certainly a danger. Again, going back to your furnace, checking your furnace, and not only for fire hazard, but for carbon monoxide. Everyone should have a carbon monoxide detector. We just did a big program recently because we turned the clocks back.
Right.
And our message is always, whenever you turn your clocks back and turn them ahead, you should change the battery in your smoke detector.
Right.
Check your smoke detector. I mean, there's a button on it that you push to test it. Check your battery, replace your battery. Usually now the smoke detectors will start chirping. If you hear a chirping noise, that usually means that the battery's dying and you need to replace your
It's a
battery.
lot better. I actually bought a 10-year battery, so
Yeah.
I knew I wouldn't listen to you that well. I'm not that good. Lucky I changed a light bulb, but then I'm sitting in the dark, so that pushes me. But that's why I knew that. I mean, I wouldn't be so diligent. So now at least they're making things, even for people like me over here. That
And they have, plug-in, hardwired smoke detectors now, if you can get a hardwired smoke detector.
But it's just so frightening sometimes because people will, light candles Friday night and then go out for services. And they won't, people won't be home, but they have to light the Sabbath candles. And same thing with Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You light the candles and then you go out for a Hanukkah celebration. I mean, you leave the fires.
And I would, if you have to, if you have to, I would just suggest that be extra careful. Make sure that if you have drapes, they're drawn well, far away from any candles. The area around it is clear, and there's no combustibles there, and you just have to be extra careful.
So what do you discuss at your conferences? Because you do have a convention or a conference.
We have several conferences each year. We have health and safety conferences where we discuss
Health and safety.
All issues with health and safety, and one of the newest issues that is an issue with health and safety is the solar panels that are becoming more and more popular, and the fire risk with solar panels, and how to go about
mitigating that,
and fighting a fire with when there's solar panels involved. Also with the energy efficient cars and the electric cars, there's an inherent danger with if you get a fire in one of these electric cars, knowing what not to go near to avoid getting electrocuted.
So the other part is you also have a public relations seminar that you did in Albany?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone is everyone is on the internet.
Are you having another seminar for public relations coming up at any point?
We don't have one. We don't have one. We don't have one planned, but I imagine in the future we will be having another one.
Right, keep me in mind.
I'll keep you in mind. But, I mean, everybody. The problem is, Facebook is great to get your message out.
Right.
And when Facebook was created, everyone said, "Here's the newest, greatest thing. Get on Facebook. Get on Facebook."
Yeah.
But they never told you how to use Facebook.
Right.
And there are a lot of tricks and ways to use and maximize Facebook. You can pinpoint your audience. You can reach a broader audience. You can do boosts. There are a lot of different tricks of the trade that you can use to really get your message across with Facebook, and that's what we recently did with our latest campaign with the smoke detectors and.
Well, I'll have to friend you. I'll have to friend you on Facebook there and get connected with you. Okay.
And we post our Facebook page. We post. We're constantly posting not only things that are going on around the state, but safety messages. We have a number of safety messages that will be coming out for the upcoming holiday season and how to stay safe. And we're posting Thanksgiving ones now. So.
We want to thank you for being really keeping us all safe. That's important, and prevention is, of course, 1 ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Yes.
But when you need it, you need it. I mean, so the fire department's always there, and on behalf of all your firefighters, we want to thank you for the service to the community, and keep on going and do it all with good health.
Yes, keep up the good work, Sam.
We will. Thank you. Appreciate it.